And we're live. So hey,
Hello,
everybody.
live people.
All you alive people, how are you? Hope everybody's
Hyper
doing
Potato
well.
already?
He was at
Wow.
626. I mean, like, as soon as I put the reminder up,
Dude,
he was ready to go.
time to talk Atari Force. What?
I know.
I want to read that, actually. I've never read that, and I truly do want to read it. It's on my list, but it's not way up there.
Oh yeah. No, I've never read it, and I have thought about it many times. And I've seen like a random back issue in a dollar bin or something like that. And I'm like, oh man, I wonder if I took some time to put this set together. Yeah, I've never read it. That'd be maybe that's something. Don't they have a trade or something like that? They've got to have some kind of collected edition.
Should be collected. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look that
Hyper
up.
Potato, if you're on here still, is it collected? We could look, but we don't want to.
Oh, I'm a look. I'm a look because
Okay.
if I have a thing in my head, it's
I'm knees deep in my complete X reading right now, man. That's going to take me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then if I don't feel like reading that, I'm reading Image from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm in like 94 somewhere. So, like at the end, let's see, 2, 3. Yeah, I think I'm about to finish up 94. I have like, hey, Doug, November and December to read or something like that. So.
Cool. Let's see. I see a lot of issues for. Oh man, somebody on Macari's got a whole set for $85.
How many issues was it?
It said there's 20 plus issues. Let's see.
$4 a piece. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm clicking on it. Just free shipping. Oh no, it's 18 issues. They're missing issue 8 and 20.
And they want 80 bucks.
But it's free shipping. Shipping's included.
Don't be mean. Okay. Yeah.
All are near met minus except for number 6, which is a very fine plus.
Justify that price, dog. You go.
Yeah, that's a little tough one on that, but good to know.
We'll go to my favorite comic book place.
Oh my God! Somebody on Hip Comic. I don't know if you ever look on that. That's insane prices, but yeah, Hip Comic has 1 through 20. They're the plus a special complete newsstand. So does that mean it's got 2 runs?
Well, it might have a newsstand and a comic shop. Was it comic shop? Because I'm looking at Lone Star Comics and I'm seeing several covers that don't have barcodes.
Yeah, so some of these issues that I'm seeing, most of them have barcodes. So most of them are newsstand. There's a couple direct, but it's DC. So even there was a stretch there where some of their newsstand even had the DC logo.
Right.
$200.
Well, looking at Lone Star Comics, they're anywhere from $360 to $750 an issue.
Wow.
Yeah. Why so expensive? Who did that? Is that art by Ed Barretto? I see here in the later issues.
Yeah, they don't have on this. They don't have the creators on it.
Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Oh,
that's why they're pricey.
I stand corrected.
Jerry Conway scripts. I did not realize.
Did not either. Yeah.
So Jose Luis to Barretto, that's. Yeah.
All right. So Hyper Potato, we're discussing there you go. You're catching up to us now.
Praise be his name. What is that?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
That's why they're pricey. Goodness.
Everything that you're saying is correct. Yeah, we were trying to figure out why they were so pricey. Now we know. So
for 84 and 85, so that's almost 40-year-old books, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're still $6 and $7 a piece.
That's impressive.
I was just at Heroes. I should have looked.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I've seen them over the years in the dollar bins, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not buying them.
So have I. Yeah, we went to Heroes, and after hitting up the indie people, we were pretty wiped, and so we only went to one vendor that Terry had seen had advertised and what they were going to do, and they had dollar boxes. So we looked for our main stuff there: X-Men, Wonder Woman, Thor, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they had 25-cent indie boxes over here on the other side.
Oh,
and I got some. We haven't even looked at everything yet because we've just been wiped and busy and everything like that. We'll do that this weekend. But I was diving in those boxes and I was getting stuff, Chris, I have never seen before, even online. I have not seen it before. So I'm like, oh yeah, for a quarter? Heck yeah, I don't
You're
care
going to
what
make me
it's
very
like.
jealous, aren't you?
Oh, it was. And as soon as I go through them and sit down and start reading them and everything, I'll start posting pictures on
Cool.
Twitter and getting everybody's input on them.
Yeah,
I
that's
canceled his name when he was coming to his first Heroes Con. My family got tired of hearing it. He's an icon.
Oh, for
Okay.
sure. For sure.
I think there are whole podcast families out there that will agree with you if you listen to any of their shows, Fire and Water Network. And
There you go.
Mr. Rios, I believe, is very big on Mr. Garcia Lopez as well.
Yeah. Hold on
Is he still alive, Chris? Do you know?
I do not know. I was just kind of thinking about that.
I'm gonna say I think he is. Wish I'd known Ed was there. Would have loved. I agree, dog. I would have loved to have met anybody that knows my voice. But going was just a very last minute kind of thing. We just decided to go. We had tickets left over from 2-3 years ago when we had bought 3-day passes, and we were still kind of COVID scared, and but we're like, well, we got tickets. We're 3 hours away. We can go down and come back. We'll mask up. We'll be okay. And so we went down there, and we were down there for like 5 hours maybe. So, and honestly, it would have been hard to do the stuff we want to do and really have any time to really meet with people and sit around and shoot the poo. And so it would have been really tough. But yeah, probably next year, she and I will definitely put it out there, plan, let people know, get the word out, hey, whatever, a night, even if we go multiple times or we stay down there a night, set aside to meet up and maybe break bread and, whatever it turns out
that'd be good.
Just requires a little bit more planning than what we were able to put into it this year. But I apologize. But I agree. I would have liked to have met you. I would have liked to have met you. Okay.
Meet you in the future.
I don't know. I only talk all the time, so it's it comes through.
All right, so this is okay. So I started reading comics roughly around 86
Wonder Woman
ish. I forget what the actual issue. Well, I kind of know what the issue, but there's always question about when it published and when I found it on the shelf. So
okay, yeah.
So the book I'm getting ready to show on the screen is the very first book that I ever read that I saw Jose Garcia Lopez's art.
It's got to be a Wonder Woman, is it not? Wasn't he doing Wonder Woman then?
Cinder and Ash.
Cinder and Ash. Oh wow. Okay.
So if you've never and it's by Jerry Conway.
Oh, so, who also scripted Atari Force.
Atari Force, yes. That's why that was the funny thing. I was like, I can't remember if Jerry Conway did that. And I'm like, yep, he did. So this is a very mature reader. It says suggested for mature readers on it. Let's see. And it came out in May of 98, according to League of Comic Geeks. So that sounds about right. Sometime in 98.
Okay.
Excuse me, 88, not 98.
I was going to say, I thought, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so 88. So I was 14. I was 13 at the time. I hadn't turned 14 yet. I turned 14 in November. So turn a new year every November. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
So 13, this was my first mature reader's book or whatever.
At 13. Wow.
So comic book. We'll just kind of leave it at that. But it's not anything. The book itself is super violent. It is it's about this older guy Ash who is, you know, is from fought in Vietnam. Cinder is a child that he saved during all of that. She finds him. They reconnect. There's someone from their past that's coming to kill them both. It's a super violent kind of thing, but it's not just the violence, it's just the themes just all around that are super mature. I mean,
Right.
this is a very heavy thought kind of, the situations and abuse and all this for a 13-year-old. That book has stayed with me
Apparently.
more than any book that I've ever read. It makes no sense. I don't own it. I don't own it anymore. I really want to get it. They put out a trade paperback apparently back in 2014, according to
Oh
this.
wow. Okay, I want to read it now.
So it's out there.
See what Hyper Potato said about Atari Force.
Let's see. Atari Force was mature to me. Dart referring to Blackjack as lover kind of blew my young sheltered mind.
I think we've all had those moments reading comics.
Yep.
Yay, comics.
Yep. it'll do it for you. So
looking on eBay, I see complete sets for $199, $150, and $160, and that's 1 through 20 and the special.
Oh yeah, that $200 one I told you had the special with it too. Yeah, I didn't know what that meant, but yeah, okay. If you're seeing
$150 for 21 books,
it's crazy.
I mean, I could do it if it were other titles, but I'm like,
you don't know what you don't know what it is. It's hard to. It's got the pedigree. That's the thing.
What is that? Between $7 and $8 a book. That's wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
all right,
let me dig back out of that rabbit hole.
There you go. Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get the show going, and we'll talk a little bit about everything else.
Let's go.
So let's. I have to do this edit. I have to pause a little bit in between my countdown in the show. I couldn't. It took me forever to figure out a good point last episode to edit for that. I was like, I just ran that completely together.
So you remembered, and you're like, I need a break.
I did a mental note. So all right, in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome back to Comic Addiction. It's episode 139. I am one of your hosts, Chris Parton, and with me as always is Mr. Ed Moore. Ed, how are you?
Pretty good, sir. How are you?
I am excellent. I am super stoked to talk some comics. As I was saying earlier today, this is my favorite time of the week because I get to talk comics finally.
Talk comics, yep. For an hour, 2 hours.
I can try and talk comics during the week, but it usually falls on deaf ears. So.
Yeah. You have a receptive audience now. So
exactly,
whoever they may be, however many they may be, they're here for that reason. So which thank you, Hyper Potato, by the way. And who was it? Doug? Doug S.
Doug's in here.
Yeah, you're here. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, and I didn't even tweet that we were actually live, so I have to do that in a little while. So I know, man. We'll slowly build the group, but if you don't promote, then nobody will know. You have to call them, and then they will come.
Then they will come. Yes.
So we got a lot to talk about. I learned some stuff from the last episode, so hopefully we're going to apply those with this. Keep me a little more focused. Ed never needs focus. Ed's here just to kind of reel me in, I think, at times.
Not true.
But we'll go ahead and do what we always do. We'll start with FOC. We're going to change things up a little bit. Instead of scrolling through FOC and everything, we went ahead and did some picks ahead of time. We did 3 picks each, and just some books that we're looking at for FOC. So again, FOC, the cutoff is, and I probably should have looked. I mean, Monday's the 4th, so obviously it's a holiday. Some shops will be open, some won't be.
Probably,
but again, hit up your local shop, and they'll let you know. So
previews page says July 4th.
Yeah, yes, it does.
So
let me go ahead and
somehow I doubt that, but okay, maybe like you said, maybe some shops will be open. My personal shop will not be open because not only is it the 4th of July, but it is my significant other's birthday. So
Oh,
we are not doing comic booky kind of stuff unless it's something she wants to do. It won't be my lead. It'll be her lead.
that makes total sense.
Absolutely. Happy wife, etc., etc.
Exactly. And I know exactly how that feels. All right. So your first pick for FOC is this wonderful thing.
Yes, Predator #1. Surprisingly, it kind of lagged behind when Marvel got the.
Uh, and from the peanut gallery.
Thank you. Thank you. It's only taken 10, 11, 12 years, but I've got it now. I've learned.
He's slow, I'm sure, but yes.
Um,
It takes us all a little time to get there.
oh, I'm sorry, everybody. That's funny to me. She chimes in. Heck yeah. Okay. After Marvel got the license, they got it for Predator and Alien.
Yeah.
But apparently Predator was wrapped up in some other legal doings, so they have kind of Marvel had plans, but they couldn't execute them because they had to get all this other stuff cleared up.
Mm-hmm.
Word finally got out, and so now we're getting Marvel's take on Predator. Says in the near future, a young girl sees her family slaughtered by the deadliest and most feared hunter in the universe, a predator. Years later, though, her ship is barely holding together and food is running short. Theta, which I assume is the little girl's name, won't stop stalking the spaceways until the Yacha monster who killed her family is dead, or she is. And this comes to us from Ed Brisson, check. That's a positive check.
Oh yeah.
And Kev Walker, that's another positive check. So good creatives. A story intriguing enough for what Predator is. I mean, there are certain things you read a Predator comic for, and certain things you don't read a Predator comic for.
Right.
So I mean, yeah. In essence what you're going to get. This descriptor sounds like it. Excellent creatives on it. So yeah, it's something that kind of piqued my interest. I've been actually reading the Alien book too as it's been coming out, and it's been entertaining. A little bit different take on, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but the same old theme of aliens.
Yeah.
Again, Aliens is another one of those properties that you get what you get, and if you are familiar with the property, then you know what you get. It's so.
Yep. Totally agree. I had this already ordered on my FOC. Actually, I put my FOC on Wednesday. I put this particular cover, the Raza cover. He's done a lot of work. I'm assuming it's a he. I could be wrong. But he did the red variants for Star Wars Crimson Reign, that miniseries.
Yes.
Those are great looking covers. And so I knew I wanted to pick up Predator anyway. And then when I saw this sweet sort of infrared.
Yeah, is that a painted cover or is it?
I can't really tell.
Okay. Yeah, it looks almost like it could be painted because it looks so much like a photograph.
Yeah. But we'll see when it comes in. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, yep, that's the cover I'm gonna get. That's pretty. And there's a bunch of other covers too, but that one, that one, as you can see down here. But yeah, that one definitely piqued my interest.
Cool beans.
So the first one on my list this week, this FOC was really hard for me. There wasn't a whole lot that was jumping out at me.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
The Predator was the biggest one that jumped out at me. And when you had already picked that one, I was like, oh, okay, well, I gotta do something else here. And then potato, I'm old enough to remember my excitement.
No,
Yep,
not
there with
at
you.
old. At old, it doesn't. No, that doesn't.
That's not
that
a
doesn't
hashtag.
count.
Yeah, we're not doing that one.
No, we're not saying that. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And on and off over time, I've read some of the Dark Horse stuff for both Alien and Predator, but I haven't read their library or anything like that. Just kind of a hit and miss as things piqued my interest.
Now, this one is it's a facsimile. Marvel does a lot of these. This is for Tales of Suspense, number 57. This is the first appearance of Hawkeye. So I am never going to be able to own this, and I know I'm never going to be on it because one of my local shops has a copy of it, and I can't afford it. So, so I was like, has the actual issue, not the facsimile edition, but has the actual issue. And I'm a big Iron Man fan. It's probably not going to be a book that I'm going to hunt down anytime in the near future, but I've never read this particular story, and I am a fan of Hawkeye. So I thought, it's sort of a mixture of the two. I can get Iron Man, and I like picking up the facsimile editions. I don't pick them all up, but I do pick up the Spider-Man ones, pick up the Iron Man ones, and I have picked up one or two of the Hulk ones. I think maybe they've only done one Hulk.
That's a point loss, by the way. You're losing points by saying you've never read it.
I know. I'm sorry. It's just.
I mean, it's been reprinted, and
I
know. It's funny, and I say this tongue in cheek, but I also mean it. I wonder how many of the kids out there realize that Hawkeye started as an Iron Man foe.
Oh yeah, that's probably very few.
That's a deep cut. For a comic book fan that actually knows that.
And look, Black Widow is in this too.
I was going to say, and that Black Widow actually was an Iron Man foe as well.
Yep. See, that's the fun part about collecting Iron Man, as long as I have, is that there are, especially in the early issues, there are a lot of first appearances that you would never suspect. Like Thanos' first appearance is an Iron Man.
Yes.
So just to kind of give you some perspective. So
a lot of people talk about how integral Fantastic Four has been to Marvel. Iron Man is awful dang close.
I mean,
other than the fact that Kirby did not really work on him, I think they are the two of them together, particularly since they were coming out, at the same time as well. But Iron Man, I think, is just as important in the foundational pillars of the Marvel universe.
Oh, for sure. I totally agree.
All right. So my second.
I'm glad you picked this one because it was another one. I was like, hey, look.
and there's a couple reasons. Well, there's one main reason why. Bloodborne. Now the Predator, I don't know if we said, but that's coming out of Marvel.
Yeah.
I don't think I said that. Bloodborne is coming out of Titan, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Titan Comics.
Yeah, okay. And the main reason I picked it is because of the writer's name up here at the top. I am finding that when it comes to horror, and I'm not the biggest horror fan, but when it comes to horror, Cullen Bunn is my jam. It's turning out. I like what he's doing. Peter Kowalski is the artist, and Yoon, I apologize if that's not even close, is the cover artist. New comic series based on the critically acclaimed gothic gaming hit Bloodborne. Enter the city of Yharnam through the eyes of its citizens when new hunters take to the streets to fight against the cruel and unusual epidemic that has gripped the city. In the black of the night, families and faith will be tested. I mean, come on.
Dun, dun, dun.
It sells itself, with a elevator pitch like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you put Cullen Bunn on there and Kowalski, who, Hyper Potato, I'm also a fan of their art. I'll say his art because I believe Peter, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'll say there. But yeah. And the whole concept +2 of Bloodborne being that Victorian, gas lamp, gas light, steampunkish kind of setting. I dig all of those. So yep, that's a go for me.
Cool. Yeah, when I saw Cullen Bunn on it, I was like, oh, all right. I didn't know Cullen Bunn had a book, or had this book. So
and we're not done with Cullen. He'll come up again here a little bit later in the show.
He'll come back. Yep,
several times actually.
So I missed out on Fox and Hare #1 from Vault Comics. So an FOC, the second print is available. And the good thing about that is that that's not it. Where's the other one? Oh, I missed it. Sorry. But the second issue is also available on FOC.
Spoilers.
Sorry. I had to, thought it'd be great to have all the covers. And preview everything. But yeah, so if you missed out on Fox and Hare, it's like I said, it's from Vault, written by Jonathan Tsui and art by Stacey Lee. I've seen preview pages of it. It looks good. I'm kind of hoping that the story is good as well. But yeah, it was one of those books. I saw the first issue. I hemmed and hawed on it. I balked at it. I probably bought an extra variant cover because then I didn't have enough cash. Who knows? Whatever the budgetary reason was. So now that I saw that this was going to be in second printing, I went ahead and put this in the second issue on my FOC list. So I've got those coming in. So I'll check it out, and we'll definitely be talking about the second issue when that comes out. So I'll let you know if it was a good purchase or not. So now we can go ahead and dive into this.
And my my third pick, Book of Shadows by Cullen Bunn and Vicente Cifuentes, I believe, with this particular cover being by Rafael Albuquerque, which is not a bad person to do any art either.
For sure.
Neither is Cifuentes from the books I've seen in the past. Shadowman, Punk Mambo, Eternal Warrior, Dr. Mirage, and actually the lady here with the dark hair is not listed in that group. So there's another person that.
Oh yeah.
So because that's just 4 and there's 5 here. Basically some of the darker, and I say with a question mark, superheroes of the Valiant universe are banding together, and under the pen of Cullen Bunn, that cannot be a bad thing. I know he's written Shadowman. I know he's written Punk Mambo. Yep. I believe he's written Dr. Mirage.
Yeah, I can't tell you on that one.
I'm not sure if he's done Eternal Warrior. So, but yes, and so a lot of these I've been fans of since way back in the day.
Yeah.
Punk Mambo actually being the newest person, I believe, on this cover, and I really enjoy their adventures as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely looking forward to a banding together of these, because Shadowman and Punk Mambo and Dr. Mirage, yeah, you could kind of call them the darker heroes. I'm not used to thinking of the Eternal Warrior that way.
No.
Although for as long as he has lived, he's probably seen some shite. And so
for sure.
maybe in his head, he is a dark hero. You know, yeah. Who could tell at this point? And I know who this character is that's not named, but I can't think of her. I believe I've seen her in Shadow Man, but I don't know for sure. So I'm not going to throw anything out there and be a goober.
Yeah. So my son is a huge fan of all things Shadow Man. So with this book, and what's really funny is he's a trade reader. That's what he is. He's always been that way. He has struggled the last maybe 4 or 5 years. He's bought single issues of everything that he's, and there's certain things he buys trades for, but the rest of it's been single issues. He has decided, within the last month, that he's now going to switch everything that he reads over to trade. And I told him, well, you do know Book of Shadows #1 is coming out here in the near, couple weeks. He's like, yeah, I know. Yeah. He's like, I'll just have to wait for the trade.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, you're going to have to. But then I told him I would too. Just,
wait 5 or 6 months for it to come out, just depending.
Yep. So he was just like, I know. It'll be better this way, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. All right, sure.
Your call.
So last on my list is more of a goofy one. Like I said, I kind of struggled with this FOC, picking out books that weren't the ones that you had already picked out, because the ones, like I was definitely going to be picking up Predator, and so I was just like, oh no, what else am I going to do? But I did see that last Shadowhawk #1 the 3D version of this book. As you can see here on previews, it's the advanced solicitation of it. Now, this is the only issue or variant cover for this book that is being FOC this week. The other issues are being FOC'd, I think, next week. So, or maybe even the week after. But apparently, because it's a 3D issue, they need some advanced time to get these actual issues or copies put together.
Right.
Totally get it. It's a special thing you have to do with 3D and everything. And they got to put the glasses in there. I'm sure. I'm more buying it for the glasses because I have 1,000
Absolutely, you
pairs
are.
of glasses.
Yeah, you want those glasses. One
But
side
this is-
red, one side green.
I know this is
Yeah.
written by Philip Tan and Brian Haberlin. Haberlin, who actually isn't he the one that bought just recently I think it's like the original Frank Miller cover for Dark Knight Returns or something. I forget what
He won that auction.
it was at Heritage, right?
Yeah,
That was what I heard.
millions
I
of
heard
dollars.
that it was like 2.5 million. Yeah,
and
it
he
ma-
was the buyer.
that's what I heard on
Oh wow,
some reputable people on Twitter who would know.
that's
Other artists and
cool.
stuff like that. They were
Yeah.
sort of happy that he got it, but now I could be wrong, so don't quote me on it. So
It's
but-
kind of like, keeping it in the family kind
Exactly.
of thing there.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
Well,
So-
good on him if that's the case.
If it is true, that's very cool. I'm very,
yeah,
very glad that it's somewhat not some
whatever.
Yeah. So anyway,
Money person who
Yes,
builds
some
big
finance
buildings
guy, yeah.
somewhere or something. Yeah.
So
Russian
again,
oligarch.
it's a new issue. It's not a reprint or anything like that. They
Not that I
actually
have
are-
anything against Russian oligarchs. by the way.
apparently not.
No, it's
Let's see. I'm happy for him. It's true, but surprised a comic creator.
Well,
couldn't afford
and
the
see,
cover.
that's what I was thinking. But now he has been
He's been around a long
associated-
time.
associated with Spawn.
Yes.
So, he could have done pretty well writing
Mm-hmm.
that writing or drawing.
He wrote
Right.
he wrote it for a
Yeah,
while.
writing that book, just depending on how Todd reimbursed him.
Yeah.
So
And he does a lot of his own stuff. Plus, with his own digital coloring company that he has, So yeah, I mean, he's been around for a
And-
while. So
Top Cow, did he do
he did a lot of stuff for Top Cow. Yeah.
Jackie Estacado stuff?
Mm, I know he did a lot of coloring for them.
Darkness. Yeah, did
But
he do
I can't
okay.
remember what exactly all he
Yeah.
did. But he worked on a bunch of their stuff. Yeah. He's been in the image field for good
a
lord,
long time.
very long time. Not
Well, I
since
mean,
the
if he-
beginning, but
Yeah, if he worked on
almost.
Darkness, it's been since the mid 90s,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is that or
late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah?
Yeah. So, but an original one shot. So if you want a 3D copy of it,
Hey,
um,
why not?
here's your opportunity. I do have this one on my FOC because I think it's just gonna be cool to have. And then I'm thinking about a couple of the other books or covers. They're homages to some of the original Shadowhawk, covers
Right.
from the
Yeah.
first
yeah.
miniseries. So I'm looking forward to that. So, we'll get back to that later. So yeah, so that's those are the FOC picks. So hopefully those inspire you for something. If not, hopefully you've got your own FOC picks, and if so, you can always hit us up on Twitter or email or something to that effect, or even be here on Thursday nights. We start recording at 9 p.m. You can come by here and you can put in the chat your picks and the stuff that you're looking forward to, and sharing that with
Right.
everybody else that's in
Yeah.
the chat. So
We'll all share. We'll
we'll
very
share.
sharing.
Yes,
here.
we're a very open group. So
Yes.
all right. So next week is July 6th. It's here in the US is July 4th holiday. But apparently no
We s-
delays in books or anything
We
like that.
still get comics. Yes, sir.
So Wednesday we get some comic books. So much like last week, we're gonna pick, in the FOCs here, we pick 3 books each that we think or that we're looking forward to, and hopefully maybe not convince you to pick up, but maybe you're not aware of them.
Maybe pique your interest. Who knows?
So we're gonna start here with you, sir, and you are
All
talking
right.
about Basilisk.
The first one up is Basilisk number 9 by who? Mr. Cullen Bunn.
Okay, you're
Talked
beyond a
about
hat trick now. So
talked about 4 books, and 3 of them have been Cullen. Yeah, there's some connection there. I don't know. But this is the start of the next chapter, story arc for Basilisk, whatever you want to call it. So, right? Issue
yes,
9? Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
we're told here in the solicit, Vanessa and the 5 reflect on their strange life as children, the cult, and the truth about the chimera's nature. Meanwhile, Regan remembers the grim role she played in Hannah's greatest tragedy while checking on her. But it's not long before Barrett brings her terrifying news of the chimera. So, looks like we're going to get a little bit of background into the chimera, more of the who and what, and maybe the why there.
Yeah,
Um, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the dynamic between Regan and Hannah when Hannah, I guess, finds out. Really,
yeah, yeah.
she
Well,
knows what happened, but she doesn't know. Well, she thinks she knows, who, why, but maybe not. We have found out. So
we'll see.
yeah, that'll be and it'll be interesting to see how much of that truth comes out. Also,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we're big fans of that series up to
oh
now.
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and I keep seeing. I think I saw like 11 or 12 solicited
Hmm.
when I was going through stuff today. So I was like, yeah, you just keep pumping out issues. You just keep going.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my pick for next week is probably one that doesn't surprise too many people. It's Batman 125. If you've not heard about the new creative team coming on Batman with this issue, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But it's Chip Zdarsky.
Ketchup.
Uh, yeah, it's Chip Zdarsky, Blaine Ortega, and Jorge Jimenez doing the art. Um, it is so I've been reading Daredevil for years. I mean, for decades even. But Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil here in the last couple of years has been really, really good. It's like it's gotten my son into reading Daredevil because of how good it is.
Chip tore up some Daredevil, man.
Yeah.
He knew exactly that hero, and
Yep.
he did a beautiful job with that.
And so I've been a Batman reader for decades as well, but I've been off and on Batman reading it, especially the last 5 or 6 years. So with Zdarsky's sort of track record on Daredevil, I came back on to Batman here in the last couple issues, just sort of getting ready, for him, seeing what the book currently is like, and then we'll see if it, see how it sort of goes up or goes down. We'll, is comparable. But I'm really looking forward to it. I have no clue really what he's got planned. I mean, the solicitations, obviously are just sort of beefing up the fact that Zdarsky's on here and he's going to be going into see a turning point for Bruce Wayne. All of these things
Well,
that
of
you
course,
say with
isn't
a
every
new,
new writer
yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, okay,
So I'm sure there's going to be, a new villain involved. I'm sure there's going to be,
yeah.
all the classic, characters back and this and that and whatnot. So whatever. I'm just looking forward to it because Zdarsky is on it. It kind of goes into that. It's not Batman necessarily that's drawing me to the book. It's Zdarsky that's drawing me into it.
With Batman in his hands, though,
Oh,
it's
for
like,
sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
there's no telling what the dude can do.
Doug S is telling us he's excited for Starhenge by Liam Sharp.
Oh, just wait a second. Just wait a
I'm
minute. We'll
oh
talk about that one in a minute.
are we?
Oh
Are
yeah.
we? Is
Oh
that
yeah. We'll talk
oh,
about it in a
okay,
minute.
yeah, I missed that. I was gonna
Just
say, Chris, isn't that up your
yeah,
alley?
that's
Okay.
up my alley. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay,
Don't worry. I got you, Doug. I got you.
my next pick, Twig number 3. Image Comics, Scotty Young. Uh, Not the Scotty Young that everyone is necessarily used to when they see his name, because he is writing it more than the artwork. The art is Kyle Strong. Still very Scotty Youngish, but it's a Twig. the setting is a world of monsters, but not monstrous monsters like cute monsters, like Pokemonsters, which is pocket monsters. Actually, is what Pokemon means. For any of you that maybe didn't know that, but they've only been around for 25 years, so you probably know that. But very light, in my mind, seeing as how I'm reading so many Cullen Bunn books, right? So I mean,
Right. You need a palate cleanser.
well, it doesn't take much to be lighter than a
Right.
lot of the stuff that Cullen writes. And that's not, I'm not putting that down by any stretch. Yes, Doug S. Twig is, it's so much fun so far. And Twig is the main character. He's the little blue dude here that you see getting caught up in this whirlwind. He's probably fallen through something, it looks like. But he is he tries really hard. But so far in the first couple issues, some stuff has just happened, and it really hasn't been his fault, but it looks like his fault to everyone else. He's just had really, really bad luck. And the biggest problem is that he's trying to fill some really big shoes in being the same kind of person for his village, his people, that his father was, who he also looked up to, as well as everyone in the village and in the surrounding areas. So they all knew his dad, right? So, and I don't know how many of you may have grown up in a small town. I did. And let me tell you, there was a point in my young life when I was so tired of everybody knowing my father. Oh, so it's just it's fun. It's monsters, like I said, but not scary monsters. And it's just light, and it's just been so much fun to read. It's the kind of world that I wish would just continue and go on and on and on and on. But the way the story is designed, that's not the case necessarily. Unless Scotty Young wants to come back and revisit it per se. It definitely, the way it's written, it has a beginning, middle, and end. But the world building has just been so much fun to watch and to be a part of. Really enjoying Twig. Fun, lighter book. Twig would be my suggestion for somebody that's perhaps looking for that sort of thing to fill out their reading resume right now.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of folks on some podcasts talk about it, that they seem to really be enjoying it. So that's cool.
It's been a lot of fun.
All right, so Doug, just to kind of flip back, it was not next on my list, but I'll go ahead and talk about it.
But he's moving it up.
I'm moving it up just for you, Doug. So Starhenge, Dragon, and Boar, number 1 of 6. This is Liam Sharp's Image book. It's his creator-owned book. The story that I've heard on Twitter from Sharp is that this was possibly the book that he has been planning for since the beginning of Image.
It sounds like
this was like he was approached to do it, and that Doug, sorry,
line jumper.
It's fine. Hey, all these books, they're all awesome. So but yeah, it sounded like he was approached to be on, I forget who approached him, but to come into Image at the beginning, and he declined because he had just gotten on, I think, like Death's Head, like he just gotten on that big paycheck, all this other stuff. So it just wasn't in the right stars for him at the time.
Wasn't the right time. Yeah.
So and then he's done very well for himself, especially the last few years, with just all the work that he's been doing. But this is the and you're right, Doug. The art in this thing looks great. I'm gonna tease a little something here. I've already read the issue. I've already read it. I got a preview copy of it, and it is weird as all get out. And it is everything Grant Morrison taught Liam Sharp during their time with Green Lantern, to be crazy, but at the same time, it's not confusing at all. It's pretty straightforward. It's got a little bit of that. Uh-oh, you all right there? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
cats.
yeah.
Cats are attacking Ed.
I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry about
But
that, guys.
it's got a little bit of the King Arthur, Merlin, thing that I dig, but it's very spacey. It's very, you know, it's really interesting. I do highly recommend it based off the fact that I have already checked it out. I was going to be buying it anyway, before I got the preview copy, and then having seen the preview, I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Um, I do need the 6 issues probably to come up with, to determine if I like the story or not. I could already tell that. I am curious though, and I've not asked the question to Liam Sharp, which I probably should have. Is this going to be like a series of miniseries? Because it's Starhenge, Dragon, and Boar. Is it, is this going to be
Right, Starhenge,
Starhenge
right.
something or another, book 2 or whatever? Yeah, are we going to get that? I have no idea. I won't really have my own opinion about it until I get to the 6th issue, but I can see Liam Sharp really using this to really world build. There's a lot of potential in this first issue.
Why not? Yeah.
So I do think that there's going to be a group of folks who read it and they're going to really, really dig it. And I think there's going to be some folks that read it and are going to be really, really confused and think it's not worth the paper it was printed on. If there's anybody in that middle lane, I want to find those people and talk to them, because those are the people that I think are really going to get invested in it,
Right.
because I just think they are. So, but I'm looking forward to it. So, Doug and all of you who are checking it out, please, when you pick it up, if you pick it up, let me know what you think.
And just to further point this out, Doug, you did catch Chris flexing that he'd already read it, right? I mean, that was, yeah, he okay.
I read it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the rest of us are like, oh well, good for you. Yeah,
I have to be transparent here, folks. I've got to let you
okay.
know. I can't just say, "Oh, you should really read this book," and it's
I
not that
think
I
it's
know
good.
it. Wink, wink. I can't. Yeah, I can't do that. It's not my makeup. So,
All right, my final pick for the coming week is a box set. Now, I'll say up front that it's a little pricey, and if the price,
oh my gosh, 6. No, just kidding.
if the if the price runs some people off, I completely understand. I have purchased the parts of the box set as they have come out, so I've been able to spread out the investment, if you will. But it's 3 books. The T Dragon Society. There we go. It's written by Eisner-winning creator Kay O'Neill. 3 books: the T Dragon Society, the T Dragon Festival, and the T Dragon Tapestry.
There you go.
And on the cover, Chris, if you can blow the cover up a little bit, the character in the middle there between the 2 girls, that is a T Dragon. T dragons are small dragons that grow plants from their head. Those plants are the leaves that are used to make certain kinds of teas. Now, this is even more of what TWIG was. However you want to describe TWIG, this is even Doug. Doug, you and I seem to be running very, very similar lanes here. I've noticed over the weeks, which is just way cool. I go around thinking that I'm unique and just blazing my own path, and you're like, "Oh heck no, I'm right here too, dog." So that's cool.
He's on your left.
But it's just very childlike, not in a bad way, but just very young, and it has this innocence about it. The art in particular is just beautiful, and you are introduced to several characters in the first book that continue on in the second, and you see again in the third. Very much like, and this is just me free associating, but it's very much like Pokemon in that each character becomes attached to a dragon of a particular type that they then take care of, mm, kind of as a pet, but it's not a pet. It's a they both want to be there and they both benefit from the relationship kind of situation. But the human that has been chosen does take care of the various needs of the dragons that they can't do for themselves. So it's almost symbiotic, but not in a bad way. I guess actually, reaching way back into my biology training, I think it would be actually a more commensal relationship, which means that both sides benefit equally. But yeah, beautifully rendered, very heartfeltly written. It's just it's the kind of thing that we need more in comics. With so many books being pointed out by different sides as what's wrong with this, what's wrong with that. It, there, there could be some things in these books that certain far right leaning people are going to beef about, but I'm sorry, screw them. It's just heartfelt and nice, and it's just these are just a pleasure to read. I've enjoyed all three of them. I hope that there are going to be more. I think that I have seen that there is a fourth one, but I can't remember for sure. But just very pleasant to read. You could sit down with a cup of tea and read these. That's the kind of reading it is. It's just nice and quiet and relaxing, and recommended it to me. I really enjoyed it. I've got to get definitely. If you like the first book, I would definitely get the second and third. The third is a little bit more, for me. It was a little bit more uh, tear jerky. It had a little bit more deeper kind of um, later in life kind of writing in it, particularly as it involves some of the characters. But it was nice to read. The three books together give you a very set feeling time frame for several of the characters, and it's nice to see the progression of several of the characters in the books. But good stuff. I would recommend it. Like I say, the price, yeah, that's between you and your inner self or your significant other,
Yeah,
perhaps.
but you're getting 3 hardcovers, though.
Yeah, I mean,
So, I mean, that
and
seems to be a good price.
they've been about $20 a piece.
Yeah.
So
That seems fair. And it's a box set, so I'm sure it'll come in it's gonna have its case and
nice, yeah,
everything.
and
Yeah,
set
so, I
on the
mean,
shelf there.
it makes sense. Alright, so my last book for, that's coming out next week is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin hardcover. I missed out on the first issue of this because I'm an idiot. I had every means of getting a hold of a copy, and I let it slip through my fingertips. Um, and in doing so, I drew a line for myself and said, if that's the case, if I'm going to be dumb and miss out on the first issue, and I'm very much a first print guy. I mean, it's for all my faults. That's one of them. Um, so I decided that I was just going to go radio silence on this miniseries, and pick up the hardcover whenever that hardcover came out. Well,
Okay.
the fifth issue just came out not too long ago,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so the hardcover is coming out next week. It's a $30 hardcover. That seems super cheap to me for 5 issues. It's an oversized, obviously, if you've seen the actual issues. It's an oversized book. I'm hoping it looks amazing, as far as just the size of it. Yeah, I really hope they didn't shrink it down. I don't think there's anything in the solicitation that says otherwise, but I could be wrong.
There was someone, and Doug, tell me if you recognize who it was. There was someone at Heroes that was affiliated with this book, because I saw the book advertised in a couple different places down there at
I
different
think
booths, and I
I
wasn't
think
sure why.
Eastman I think Kevin Eastman was at Heroes Con. I could be
Oh,
wrong,
was
but
he?
I
Oh,
think he
okay.
was.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think they advertised, maybe it was somebody else they advertised. It was like the first time he'd ever been there or something like that.
Oh, I know the kayfabe guys were down there.
Oh, nice.
Cartoonist kayfabe,
Yeah,
yeah, Piss
that'd have been good
Poor
to
and
see, yeah.
yeah. When I walked by their booth, they were giving a panel or something, and they had
Mhm.
two booth females manning the booth.
Yep.
And as I walked by, they were explaining to people why they weren't there, and I said, "Oh, that's okay." I said, "When I saw they weren't here, I figured they were just recording a YouTube video somewhere."
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
they
bought a
both
couple
laughed.
books off of, Piscor when he's been at HeroesCon years ago,
Hmm.
which was the first time I'd ever met him, first time I'd even heard of his work, and he and I got chatting just for a couple of minutes. You've walked around with me before. I just, like,
Yeah, it's
immediately just stop at somebody, "Hey, how you
oh, I
doing?
do. Yeah,
Sell
I
me
do the
your
same
book."
thing. Yep.
Yeah,
What's this?
yep.
Tell
So,
me why I should get this.
yeah,
Yeah,
he shared a couple. I forgot what was it the WYSIWYG? I think
probably.
that's the
Yeah.
book that I bought off of him. So that was a really good book. Anyway, so yeah, so hardcover's coming out. So I'm going to check that out. I'm gonna pick it up. Looking forward to it. Like I said, I have basically it's not paid any attention to anything about this book up until now. I don't know who the last Ronin is. I don't know anything, and
Okay.
so I'm pretty excited to read this. So
Doug
Doug said
says he,
he didn't see him, but I
but he
think it was one
thinks
of the
one of the
artists.
artists for the last
Gotcha.
Ronin was there.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. Now
But
there was
I did see
somebody.
some artwork. Yeah.
There was somebody big that was at Heroes that had never been there. Was it JR?
Yes. I think he had. I think that, which really shocks me.
Yeah, that
But
he hadn't been there before. But yeah, yeah. So, anyways, just
so there you
find that out.
go. All right. So that's all the books that we want to talk about. It's coming out next week. Hopefully you'll check out some of those. So let's dive into the exciting. I'm gonna tell you what, folks. This list of books that we've got coming up that we're going to be talking about. Um, it's probably the most diverse group of books I have ever seen on any list that we've ever talked about. So I'm super excited for this. All right, go for it, man. Jump in.
Okay, let me see here. The first is actually all of mine are Kickstarter books, and I'm kind of hemming and hawing here because I'm opening my digital copies of these because my other copies are packed up already. Um, but all of these are Kickstarters that I have uh, fairly recently gotten, even though one of these has apparently been out for a little while. And one of these is just deciding to be really weird opening. Okay. So the first one is Cabra Cini, Voodoo Junkie Hitwoman.
That's a name.
Um, and there was, I have on the list both a zero and the first issue. The first issue is what I went after. The zero was an additional get for the Kickstarter. It is like 4 or 5, or let's see, 2020 is when this zero came out, and then the one issue, the number one issue, just came out just a couple weeks, a month ago. So that's 2022. So I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a story about the time lapse. The there has been enough time that from the zero to the one, the character's history was tweaked a bit, and for me, that's kind of cool because you can see when writers will do that, you can see that, well, I put this out and after a while I got to thinking about it and, feedback or whatever, whatever. And I thought I would change this and I would change that. And so you see the fruits of that process in that they have decided to change it for, whatever their reasons may be. Um, this is marked as Actuality Press. So I'm assuming that is the name that the creators are creating under. That is Sam Johnson as the writer, Bruno Letizia as the artist and letterer. And Bruno, I apologize. I suspect that that's probably not correct for your last name. But um, please, if you listen or whatever, let me know and I'll make amends. I promise. And Mike Bunt did the cover. Now the cover's in color, as you can see here. Chris has it up there. The interiors are black and white. A lot of shading because it's a very um, ambiance kind of driven book, in that it is about a voodoo hit woman who formerly was a junkie. She's not a junkie now. She cleaned up to help her do her voodoo hit womaning. Very dark background.
You got to get cleaned up before you get into that voodoo.
Absolutely, yeah, because
Exactly.
you
Totally get
never
that.
know. You can ask
It could
Cullen.
it could go wrong at
He
any
writes
second.
about that stuff all the time, so
Exactly.
he's gonna know. But very unfortunate beginnings for the main character. She had life on the streets. She was a sex worker with a man in charge of her business, shall we say, who was not kind to her mentally or physically. And so all of that is what led to the junkie portion of her life. Well, when she finally decided that she'd had enough, that's where the voodoo element came in. And in finally breaking free of her male supervisor, shall we say, that's where the hit woman aspect came in. So there was a progression there. So she and ultimately, what she does is she plies her trade as the hit woman. She knows voodoo, and she uses voodoo um, to help her accomplish her hits, but it's not, at least from reading the first issue, it's not necessarily what she uses. As a hit woman, she uses firearms, as we have seen in the first issue. The voodoo comes in getting in and out of situations. She's kind of like it put me in mind of Marvel's X-Men character Ileana. Cabra can go through one of the realms of a voodoo god, going from place A on Earth to place B on Earth. She can travel. She doesn't do it all the time, just if she needs to get in and out to accomplish a hit. Unfortunately, the voodoo god or goddess, whose realm she goes through in the first issue, doesn't really like the fact that that's what she does in his realm or her realm. I don't know what it is really, as far as any gender of the voodoo god. And so that first issue is her trying to take care of some business, shall we say, but also having to watch her back because it was the final straw of accessing this voodoo god's realm. And that was the first issue. Had three shorter stories. That was the main story. The second story was more about her beginnings and how she finally broke free of that very messed up beginning. And the third story was the interaction between she and a gentleman that wants to be more than just a piece in the night, that he currently is. And she, she acquiesces and basically shows him her world as a voodoo, quote unquote, priestess, which she's not, but because of her powers, her knowledge of voodoo, she kind of is a priestess. So to me, that was the most interesting story because it was an opportunity for this layperson. Now he was very um, be nice, very
Be nice.
streetwise
Okay.
in his background, and so he knew that. He knew that she, you know, dabbled, did something with this voodoo stuff, whether or not he believed in it or, whatever. I just know she does it. Well, he's like, I I want to be more for you. I want to be more present for you. She's like, okay, well, come with me and be present here. And she took him on a trip to her little voodoo lands, and it was intense. And at the end, Dog was like, "Yeah, we good. I'm still up. Yeah." It's like, okay, you
You
go,
didn't
Dog.
scare him. That's
Oh yeah,
good.
no, I'd have run. I'd have been like, "Peace out, girl. Yeah, you go."
This is great.
Oh,
This is not what I signed up for.
no
Checked
doubt.
out.
But interesting enough that that I'll definitely keep my eyes open as the further issues are kickstarted, and at least keep up with this character. I'm not sure if the world branches out necessarily that I'll keep up with everything. Not necessarily the biggest fan for the contemporary writers, dark, gritty street kind of stories
Mhm.
that are being produced by people that are able to write whatever they want to write, and
Right.
they're very pointed in getting their point of view across. And that grim and gritty street stuff, it's not like Marvel Punisher, which is the
Right.
grim and gritty I grew up on. This is, real or not, this is just, it can be pretty harsh sometimes. And
Yeah.
her story is definitely on the harsher side, but it wasn't the focus of the book. So it was easier to take because you're just trying to understand where she's from in just enough to understand where she's from.
Right.
You're not being immersed in it. So
Yeah. So apparently, for those of you who are with us on YouTube, one of
wow. Okay.
our regulars in chat has he was gone. He had to do something else, and so he'd like us to go back and repeat everything. So, um, my suggestion is hit pause where you are right now, rewind, playback, and there you go.
And you can, yeah, and we'll go forward
We'll
while
keep
you're
going.
catching up, and
Yep.
then ultimately you'll catch up too. So
Not a
yeah.
problem. We'll still be here. So
All right. So Chris, what you got up, man?
all right. So yes, this is comic addiction, but I'm gonna talk about Seven Secrets. This is Boom
Boom.
Book. This is
Boom.
issue 18.
Y-
This is the very last
Yeah,
issue.
you got to, dog. You're invested from the beginning.
I have talked
So
about I think every issue of this book.
yeah, we all understand. You're good. Just yeah, just
So
run with that.
so this again, issue 18, written by Tom Taylor, illustrated by Danielle Del Niculo, lettered by Ed Dukeshire, take a swig, colored by Walter Beamonte, with color assist by Katia Ronali. 18 issues, still can't pronounce everybody's name right. It is what it
Nobody
is.
has ever gotten back to us that we're wrong. So
No,
so
no.
we just
Logo
we just
design,
go
Grace
forward.
Park, and designer Madison Go. Yeah, just to kind of keep the boom addiction feel to it.
Do you see
So
the news thing where they added a couple more marketing people today?
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
an editor, acquisition editor. Yeah, some good stuff
growing,
going over
growing,
there.
and growing.
Growing, it's awesome. So, so for those of you who've not listened to all of my rants and accolades about this series thus far, Seven Secrets has been one of my favorite books, and was very surprised of that how much I enjoyed it, just because this was really the first Tom Taylor book that I paid a lot of attention to. So I hadn't read a lot of his other stuff. This was sort of my real introduction to his stuff. Um and I'm a huge fan of his now because of this. And so before we go for it, Doug, I'm hoping Seven Secret gets I'm hoping it gets a
I
super
was going to say,
nice.
I'm sure Chris is hoping the same thing,
I
brother.
would like
Yeah,
an omnibus with all 18 issues and
yeah.
all the
Okay.
covers in the back gallery and all that other cool stuff. It probably won't happen, but maybe we'll get two hardcovers. Maybe we get two 9-issue hardcovers or something along those lines. But yeah, it would be. I'm looking forward to the collected edition of this one for sure. And I can't say that about a lot. I think Once in the Future is the book that I look forward to the most for hardcover collections and stuff. Obviously, Something is Killing, and then this is right behind it. As far as my favorite Boom stuff that's coming out. So this issue really it's the climax. It's everything that that's happened is now here. We're where do we go from here kind of stuff. Try not to be very spoilery because I do think this is a book that a lot of folks have been catching up on, which is great. Um, I will say that for me, it was a pretty satisfying conclusion. I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't really have any sort of expectations. I just didn't want it. I just didn't want to get to the end of this issue and go, "Ugh, that was how we ended it." Um, it did not make me feel that at all. There's some explanation of Casper and sort of why, the whole point of why his parents were given him to why he was given to them, what their job was, what they did and didn't do correctly, sort of the ramifications of that. We deal with sort of I guess you could say the final battle between Casper and Amon, or in kaiju form, their final battles, and then sort of where do these characters go from here? And while we don't get a flash forward, moment, we do get the last page does give us sort of a what possibly could happen down the road. Is this the last of Seven Secrets, that we'll get? This is If it is, that's it. It's a nice ending. It's a nice story that's been wrapped up. But the last how it ends is definitely, in my mind, leading to potentially more stories down the road. If Tom Taylor ever, he and Dina Kulo ever want to come back and do more, these characters or most of these characters are still here for them. So uh, I don't know. I was super excited by the just getting to this point. I felt very satisfied. Art in it continues to be great. I mean, there's nothing new I really can say about this, uh, about the artwork and the coloring and everything that I haven't said before. It's just a beautiful looking book. Um, and
It it
it's a good issue.
the art constantly piques my interest as being very uh, anime influenced. Is
Yes.
is that fair
Yeah.
to say?
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Every issue that I flipped through, and I flipped through it because I haven't sat down to read any, and so when I look at issue 12, I'm not necessarily going to read it because I haven't read the 11 before it. But yeah, it definitely looks like it is inspired, in the very least, by anime, by current contemporary anime.
Yeah. There's a moment in, again, not wanting to spoil anything. There's a moment in this issue that there's a fight going on. That one of the characters involved in the fight sort of remembers that, oh, well, I can do this other thing too that I haven't done in a very long time.
Wow.
And it sort of introduces that. Once you read it, you know exactly what it is. It may not be as big a deal for you as it was for me, but I just it made me laugh. I was just like, oh yeah, 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 that is the thing. Yeah. So everything that every threat that you thought was an issue now isn't an issue anymore. So I was like, oh, okay, well, we can take care of this. So, but it's just I do like how there's certain things that just sort of weave in and out of this issue that I will spoil this. So there's a in the sort of the origin of the god that Casper becomes or merges with, there is an element of that. It goes back to the origin of where that god comes from and why that god um, decided to leave, and in doing so, decided to hide its wrath from itself so that it wouldn't use it on the world. And so, in doing so, it hid it. It knew where it was, but it just never sought after it until now. And there's a moment where you're like, "Oh, well, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm looking for my wrath." And it's just like, "Oh, oh, it's about to go down, ain't it?"
Okay.
So,
Yep.
but I was just like, good stuff." So, yeah, just a great issue. If you've not, if you followed along and not have read this book, I highly recommend it. I can't recommend this book any more than I can any other book. It has definitely been one of my favorite reads over the last year or two. So that's it. That's it for me. I could talk on and on. I would love to go back and just start from the beginning and talk about every issue of that book again with people who with a group of people who have never read it before, who are learning about it from the first time, and sort of get their reaction to it. Because me having now read it, there's gonna be those moments. I know that there are moments where like, oh, well, now that I know this makes a lot more sense.
So is this the beginning of Chris's book club?
Well,
Is
no,
that what
but
we're getting to here?
oh, but if there's a group of you that want to do it,
So
I am available.
Chris is going to be our Oprah.
At Chris Martin on
Yes.
Twitter. You can DM me if you want to do that. Okay, maybe not. All right, so moving on to your book.
All right, my book is
a sweet looking cover, by the way.
Is it not? Now, I'll go ahead and say this. This cover, the book, the art, the coloring, very much puts me in mind of, and I know this is perhaps not everybody's favorite words right now, but Chris is greater than Oprah. Amen. Preach it, Hyper Potato. Preach it. Puts me in mind of Pat Lee.
Oh,
Dreamwave Productions, Warlands.
Yep.
Now, do you remember that, Chris?
Yes, big fan of
bought
Warlands.
every one of those books as they were coming out, man. And this really puts me in mind of that.
Oh man,
bright.
Now I'm gonna have to check it out. 6
colors.
issues in.
Yes, and one issue of a spinoff. It might be the only issue, really. But I have gotten all 6 of these off of Kickstarter. You have my attention. Yeah, I say Pat Lee. I know that he's perhaps not everybody's favorite person because of potential business.
Well, there's other things,
with stuff, but his art and the art that he was involved in, yes, very very awesome. All 6 issues from Kickstarter, and I don't believe that this is intended to be the last issue. The Kickstarters were saying 6 issues, but the where this story stops right here, the story stops. It doesn't end. So, couple things I want to read to you, and it'll tell you everything about the series. First, the overview. Born into the outcast breed of werewolves known as the Monoki, 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 I believe. 18-year-old Rodney Marcelli is reluctantly thrown into an ancient war between good and evil in today's world where the line has blurred. With the help of Snowpaw, the pure-blood Monoki, and the supernatural evil slayer Night Hunter, Rod must learn to master his newly found lycanthropy and mysterious kinetic energy power that only he possesses, all while struggling to keep his soul from the conflict within. That's the lycanthropy. Rob must fight the Dark Covenant in order to avenge his friends and family and save the girl he loves from the master vampire, Lord Malice. Now, I will say, a lot of these themes, a lot of the names, they're not deep. Okay, most of the aspects of this book are not intended to be deep. It's werewolves. It's vampires. It's new werewolf. Well, we kind of know probably where that's going to go. The Dark Covenant somehow is a conglomeration of both vampires and werewolves. My experience is that they don't get together too well, but here they do. Now, this issue, Snowpaw is lured away from the safe house by the scent of her nemesis Blackclaw, leaving Rodney Marcelli vulnerable to an attack by a throng of monsters. This horde of feral vampires, werewolves, and armed vampire knights is led by a mysterious vampiress who Rodney recognizes from his past. Meanwhile, the FBI Special Investigation agents are closing in on their location, and Lord Malice continues to emotionally and mentally manipulate Jennifer Conway to bend her to his will. Jennifer Conway is Rodney's human girlfriend. Snowpaw is a really kick-ass female werewolf from Scotland that felt the creation, shall we say, of Rodney, and made a trip on her own to help guide and train him. So his sensei, in essence, is a long-lived, completely white-furred, hence Snowpaw, female werewolf from Scotland. I mean, I don't know about anybody, but these are just ticking things off that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
can
you
dig that.
go. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and and so that is the overview and basically what happened in this story. Very imaginative, very interesting story. Poor Rodney is entrapped by some rather ingenious silver manipulation by the end of this story that I'm like, oh, damn. And just very fun, exciting, kinetic, vampire werewolf fighting with swords. And the Snowpaw's favorite weapon, by the way, is a claymore. And if any of you
Nice.
know what a claymore, it's the
Mm-hmm.
sword that's like this long that like real men are the only ones that are typically strong enough to use it. She uses it in one hand, so it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
even better.
yeah, really. But when she's a werewolf, now when
Oh, okay.
she's female, she is uh, a normal looking female.
Right.
I don't know. She carries the claymore around, so I guess she can carry it. But yeah, as Snowpaw, she wields it in one hand. I'm like, oh, and she has her own book. They did one issue where you got her basically her origin story up until the point that she felt this um, leading as being a pure blood werewolf, that something was going on that she needed to be a part of, and it was the creation, the birth, if you will, of Rodney as a werewolf, because is a he's a pure blood, but he also has this ability to expel kinetic energy in bursts, which
Okay.
no werewolf has ever had. So
Not that I'm aware of. No.
there's something more going on with him, particularly in this universe.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the entire book is just like that cover. Big,
Awesome.
bold colors, nice broad strokes. A little rounded and cartoonish at times, particularly in human faces, but the vampiric aggression faces and every single werewolf in the bloody book are just phenomenally drawn. They're
Cool.
just awesome to look at.
Cool.
And what did Hyper Potato say here? I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
about the other things. I only know. Yeah, uh, Hyper Pat Lee. There are issues with the way that he ran Dreamwave, apparently.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah. I
going
can't
back.
remember the details on it, but I do
Yeah, this is going
vaguely
back to like
remember that.
2005, and
Yeah.
it came out through Bleeding Cool, which may or may not be good. Your mileage may vary there.
Right.
Uh, but apparently, a lot of it was true, because when the news broke, then other creators who had worked with him at Dreamwave, they had their own unfortunate stories about things. And so since 2015, to be honest with you, I don't know that I've seen his name really come up anywhere. I don't know if he's
No.
in a different industry. He may have passed on. I don't know really
Yeah.
what
I
he's
don't
doing,
know.
or but yeah, once upon a time, I know that Image and Dreamwave, man, every book that had Pat Lee, I was like, yeah, I'll take one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what it's like inside. I know what it's like. I'll read it.
Transformers
But
G1.
oh man,
Holy
it was,
cow.
yeah, he was just all the shiznit once upon a time.
Yep. Totally agree. All right. So this book, here, let me throw up this cover. So from the creators of Ultraman, we get Redman #1. This is from Behemoth. Let me pull my copy out here.
Oh, this is Chris flexing, guys.
No, just me and I,
No,
me and I went to the store,
oh.
or at least one of them. So this, creative story and art by Matt Frank, colors by uh, Goncalo Lopez, and then there are a lot of covers to this thing. I just bought cover A. I had never picked up anything from Behemoth. Don't know a whole lot about the publisher themselves, but I have seen a lot of their books recently. So I don't know how new they are to publishing. I don't know where they're publishing from. I don't know anything about them. But I did see this cover art like 2 weeks ago. I think I was looking at like stuff that's coming out in a couple weeks or whatever. And this one, or maybe it was FOC, and I saw this cover and I was like, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. It didn't say from the creators of Ultraman or anything like that. But it was one of those things where I just like, that looks, just the cover alone looks interesting. It reminds me of Ultraman, or sort of something in that universe. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just kind of keep that in the back burner, just keep that in the back of the head. And then if I see it on the shelf, I'll go pick it up. Um, and I walked in the comic shop and they had 4 or 5 copies of it. And I was like, all right, I said I was going to pick it up and I'm going to pick it up. So I had no idea what I was going to get into getting into this. So I don't know. Do you know anything about this, Ed?
About the book?
Yeah. Or
No.
the character?
No. I have read some other Behemoth books, but I actually I don't even think I'm really familiar with this. It's nothing's triggered here.
Okay. So this is right up your alley. It is kaiju fighting robots.
Ah, yes.
So it is everything and then some. So so the beginning of this issue has this sort of text page, and I'll just kind of, maybe you can't read all that, but um basically it just says, in the early 1970s, a mysterious transmission appeared on television set across the country of Japan. It was a strange, violent, oddly beautiful series of images in which a near endless succession of bizarre creatures did battle with a quote hero, his body covered in red. They fought on a desolate world of dead grass and fog shrouded woods, occasionally peppered with artifacts not unlike those seen on Earth. Many assumed it was a weird television program intended for children, and eventually faded from memory. The viewers could never have imagined that these images may have been from a reality that was not their own, and that they were not the intended audience. And so this issue opens up with a television, an old 70s, box set TV, with a bunch of static, and it kind of clears up. And so what I'm thinking it's doing is it's showing you the images and what people saw on their television. A very War of the Worlds kind of sort of thing, but on TV. And so what we get is a full colored. I was expecting black and white from the moment I started reading this. I was like, this is gonna be in black and white, which would have been fine, but it was full color. It has a little bit of narrative sort of telling you, okay, this is where we are. These are who these creatures are. This is what this creature is. This is what Redman is. And then for the rest of the issue, it is nothing but a fight. It is a lot of, onomatopoeia, of noises and whatnot, but it is nothing but a fight from that point on. So 2/3 of the issue, which was awesome. Every bit of this, it was a fast read if you were trying to read it, but I was so busy looking at the art and just what was going on. The action sequences were great. Just the sort of the fluid art style. It was not heavily anime inspired or anything like that you you might expect. It is. I mean, I really can't compare the artist to anybody that I can think of off the top of my head, but which I guess is good. But the art was so good, the coloring was great. Hold on, let me. I'll see if I can show you at least the horned Arstron or whatever the guy's name is. I mean, this guy is. I don't know how well you can see that, but just super good. Oh gosh. So I don't know if this is a mini series. This was just a one shot. I don't know what it is. I have not picked up a book in a very long time that I was this clueless about, and I am super excited about it. So if there's more to it, awesome. If there's not, I'm super glad I picked it up and read it anyway. But I am definitely going to look at some more Behemoth stuff. Maybe not buy it blindly like this one, because not all of them I'm sure are going to be, superstars like this. Not trying to say that they're not, they couldn't be, but it's me. I'm a weird cat. Not everything resonates with me. But I'm definitely going to check out some new stuff from them and kind of see what they got going on. So, but yeah, Redman, if you haven't checked it out, I would definitely go to your shop and check it out.
Lone Star Comic has 3 issues listed.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there's at least 3 going to be coming out.
Sweet.
I know Behemoth. Looks like the first thing that Lone Star has for them is 2019, but only one thing. So
Okay.
basically, they've been pumping out since 2020.
Okay.
I know them primarily for a series called Nobody's Child. In an unspecified time in the future, it's discovered that within a special breed of albino rhinoceros, there's a genetic code that holds the properties to regenerate man that can cure all diseases, even those very serious. As a result, in a short period of time, this albino rhino, one, becomes nearly extinct, leaving just one, Sabium. Enter Bakari, a boy dealing with his own devastation who now decides to dedicate his life to protecting this rhino. 6 issues. That was a killer story. Definitely recommend it. The other book that I have bought from Behemoth is Until My Knuckles Bleed.
Huh.
The 90s were the most extreme age of the superheroes, but times change. Gavin Hart, aka Damager, now works as a bouncer in a strip club managed by the Russian mob. Hangs out sporadically with his ex, Evangelady, and wrestles with the long-term effects of his cyber implants. But fate always keeps one last cheap shot up its sleeve for a hero. So those are I've bought both of those 2 series.
Cool.
Behemoth probably has I don't know, the list here looks to be about 20, maybe 20, 25 different books out. So
yeah, I'm looking at League of Comic Geeks' website, just all the Behemoth books that they have listed. Yeah, there's quite a few of them, and you're right, most of them are 2000 to present.
Yeah,
stuff. So cool. I've got a new publisher to check out.
Yeah, I see them, but just I don't know. Those 2 series piqued my interest, and actually Redman did as well. But I don't know. Most of the things are they seem just maybe more intense that I really want to constantly get into.
No, I get that, and I think that's like I've seen Stargirl. Like it's only been in the last maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe not even that long, 2 or 3 months for me.
Yeah,
that I've even
STR something girl. It's not spelled out. Yeah, it and Heavy Metal Drummer, and I think Heavy Metal Drummer, just the title of that book, kind of gives you an indication of the Behemoth mindset. Is my thoughts on all of the solicitations of theirs that I read. They're very intense books, and
Cool. I'm just like I said, it was a publisher and a series and a creative team. I had no clue. It's been so long. It's hard for me to pick up a book like that. There's somebody that I know that's working on it, or I've read other stuff that they've done, or a publisher, or something to that effect. But yeah, just going
So
in
you
cold.
had
That was
no connection to this at all?
none,
That's cool.
none
And
other than,
you dug it.
and
That's
it
yeah.
wasn't until I picked up the actual issue off the shelf where I saw on the cover, from the creators of Ultraman. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, and that was
Okay.
the only thing. So
Right.
I was like, all right, well, let's go from here and see what happens.
All right. My third pick is yet another Kickstarter, recent, The Masters, and you have this uh, fan shaped of 5 individuals. There are 5 stories in this book. It's a 45-page book, because what they're doing is they're building a universe. And initially, these are the good guys. And oh, you don't. The one that I got for you, the cover doesn't have it, but this one has an logo box or whatever you used to call those with
Hmm.
6
Oh,
heads
you're
in it.
talking about up here?
Yeah, and those are the
Yeah,
good guys.
gotcha.
These on the fan are the bad guys, and someone is collecting the bad guys to make a consortium of them, and then we'll get into the good guys who already have their group and everything like that as further issues come out. Now, this is what got my attention. How about these names, Chris? These people are in this book, okay?
Okay.
Pat Broderick, Jeff
Ooh,
Isherwood, Alan Milgram,
wow.
Ron Wilson, Joe Rubenstein, Alex Saviak, Val Myerick, Mike Gustovich, Andrew Pepoy.
These are dudes I like grew up checking out.
I, I
Those are
know.
your
And
journeyman,
and and there are some other named people too, but all these names really jumped out. I'm like, what?
yeah.
Him too? What? Good. So 5 stories, all of them very, very of their artist. When you see Pat Broderick's story, you're
Hmm.
like, I know. Oh yeah, Al Milgram does a lot of the inking. He inks like 2 or 3 of the stories.
Cool.
You can tell. Um, that's a lot of great creative. Yeah, it is. That's what really attracted me to the Kickstarter. When I saw it, because the plus two. Let me take a step back. What Power Comics Group is trying to do, um, is evoke that good old gold and silver agey kind of feel, but not the goofiness.
Right.
The style of writing, the way that the characters act, the art. I mean, with these people involved, heck, these people go back to the 70s, so
Yep.
they've been at it a while. Um, and I will say now, you're not going to get 2022 art or writing in this book. That's not what they're about. So it's very much a throwbacky. If you liked, this and this and this and this, then you'll like this book. And that's golden age, silver agey writing, mature, not the goofy parts, which I understand that's funny to say because there was a lot of goofy in golden and silver age writing,
Oh yeah.
particularly the silver age. I thought Gustovich had left. No, Hyper Potato Gustovich. Actually, if you're on Facebook, he's on several groups and he has his own page. He is constantly doing commissions and talking about things that he's trying to bring back the Justice Machine
Oh
currently.
wow.
Yeah, so he is really dug his Justice Machine. Yeah, indeed. That was his creation. He sold it, I think, a la Rob Liefeld and
Mm-hmm.
Youngblood kind of situation. But either he has gotten it back or he is in a really good working relationship with the current rights owner that he can continue working on it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he is still very active, but you just have to know where to look. It's not like, he's putting out books for Eclipse or First Comics or,
Yeah.
anything like that anymore, Kamiko. Um, but yeah, and his art in this, it's Justice Machine all the way. I mean, if you liked Justice Machine art, his story in this book looks like it's something pulled right from the annals of Jor-El, and it could be right alongside the Justice Machine.
Cool.
But very fun, 45 pages, so it's very full. another excellent below the radar kind of book. There was nothing really spectacular about the adverts for this Kickstarter unless you went to it and read the about to see the list of creators involved.
Oh yeah.
And these are some, if not most, of the bigger names. So then you're like, oh man, But as far as the blurb, this kind of throwbacky kind of style is, to me, getting to be one of the more common things that Kickstarter creators are wanting to do. If it's an older creator or somebody that really dug that older style, they're trying to bring that back in their creation for their Kickstarter. And I do see that happening a lot, but definitely would recommend this for those fans of the Silver Age in particular.
Yeah, sounds like it for sure. Very cool. Let's see. All right, so my last book here is Mindset #1. This is from Vault Comics.
It's a freaky cover.
It is, but it's a very striking cover that I like a lot. It's written by Zach Kaplan, who I've been picking up some of his books lately. The Metal Society that he's doing, miniseries he's doing for Top Cow is really good. John Person is the artist, or Pearson's the artist. Lettered by Hassan Stamni. I never can pronounce his full last name. Stamni Elohau. I follow him on Twitter. I've never like heard him actually say his last name, so I need to. He's on a podcast somewhere, so I really need to check that out. So this first issue is one of those I've kind of been sort of waiting for the first issue to come out. And Vault is a publisher that I go back and forth with. I dive head first, buy everything they got going on, and then I'd kind of put my head above water and don't read them for 6 or 8 months and then dive back in so it's one of those publishers I always come back to because they have some really interesting creative teams. They work, their primary focus is to do sort of very hard sci-fi books. Some of that is very sort of fantastical, and so it's sort of lighthearted. Some of it is very, obviously space odyssey oriented and that kind of thing. This particular series Mindset is very set into reality, and it works. While it's just the first issue and it doesn't go into like conspiracy theories and world governments, and it kind of does all of it, but it made me just sort of in passing mentioning and stuff like that. I can see where the series could potentially go in that direction, based off of the Mindset app that is developed in this. But it reminded me a bit of Hacktivist from Boom. So, and I'm a big fan of that series, those two miniseries.
Name dropper.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of that. So, I didn't know that this book was going to, sort of hearken that kind of feeling or that thought. And so I was pleasantly surprised by the time I got to the end of it. But again, it's not that kind of, it's not per se hacktivist. It just sort of, there were tones of it that made me think of it. So
put you in mind of that.
Yeah. So this particular, so what we get so far is there's an app called Mindset. It's recently been launched, and one of the creators of the app is the issue opens up with him in an interrogation room at a police station. Apparently he, at a giant launch party, killed one of his partners, his main investor, killed him in front of 20 plus witnesses, with their phones and all. So it's one of those things, you
hard
can't
to get out from under that.
Yeah, that's what they told him. They're like, look, we have he's like, there are so many witnesses, and he's like, yeah, there are.
Yeah.
But his thing is, and there's a line that he says at the beginning that he says multiple times throughout the issue, is it wasn't my fault, but it was my fault. And so we take it from there. We flash back to sort of the origin, and what Mindset is an app that he is started to develop. Let's see here. Oh, it's
And don't forget Doug S. there above, who is being all simpatico with you.
I read this one too. Good on you, Doug. Doug reads
Yep.
everything we read, or we read everything Doug reads. That's probably what it's more boils down to. But Ricardo says Vault Comics will give great content like The Blue Flame, Hollow Heart, and then they will publish something that's just okay, like Renaissance. I agree, and then something bad like Money Shot.
It's been very up and down, and
Yes.
and I remain butthurt by the initial issues that Vault Comics had, where several of their initial series were completed via trade.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dog, I don't want to buy a trade. I've been buying your books, and this is what you. I'm like, okay, which I know hasn't happened since then, but
Right.
I got kind of sour. I've read a couple of their issues, but or books. Sorry.
And Blue Flame was the last. So I bought. This was insane of me. But I had a comic shop that was very Heroes Aren't Hard to Find. Super great shop in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you've never been, they're the ones behind Heroes Con.
Yeah, I was going to say they sponsor Heroes Con.
So I used to work in Charlotte. Used to go to that shop. Had my pull list there. It was great times. Yay. And Vault had only been around for maybe 2 years at that point. It wasn't very long. Maybe less than that. I asked them. Because I picked up some Vault book and I said, I want to go all in, but none of their books are on your shelf. None of their books are in your back issues. Can you go to Diamond like you do? Because I know how comic shops work.
Right.
I was like, can you back order all of their books that they have on stock? And they said, yes, we can. This was several weeks later. They told me.
Question mark? Yes,
yeah.
we can.
I got that answer. There was a heavy question, and it took 2 months, 3 months for them to actually get all the issues in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good on me that they didn't all show up at once. But over the course of 3 months or so, I ended up buying all and being literally caught up to every book. But what you said, Ed, was very true. Because that hadn't become apparent that was what was going to happen to some of those books.
Right.
They just, the fourth, fifth issue, or whatever, go read it in the trade. So I was like, that was when I dipped out for a while. So Vault really upset me, where I backed to Kickstarter. It was supposed to be signed, but I mean, that happens with a lot of Kickstarters too. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not solely for them, but I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, that can definitely sour somebody. But back to this book. So this issue starts off in the present, goes back to their time, to this guy's time at Stanford, and trying to get a student funding. They had some investors there. Everybody presented like an app or something like that to get funding, and he didn't get it. He then found out the day before graduation that he was not graduating. So he, made a deal with his professor. He had to finish some test or something, some paper or something. And so he was trying to get a teacher's assistant to let him in the building that evening to get everything done. And he couldn't find anybody. There was only 3 or 4 of them that he had their numbers for. Nobody would let him in. So he just went home. He is the, child of rich, divorced parents who are lying to the world and telling everyone everything's okay, kind of a situation. So he's depressed, but he goes in and just puts on the smiling face and sort of fakes it for everybody. But while he's at the party, he gets a call from one of the TAs saying, "Hey, I can let you in." So he runs back to the school, Guy lets him in. He's explaining to it because his other buddies who helped develop this with him, they show up and they're more reluctant. They don't really need to be there. They don't care anymore. They didn't get their funding. They don't, whatever. But because he has to finish this to graduate, they're there basically moral support. And they kind of help. I mean, they're good buddies, but at the same time, they're kind of like, dude, what does it matter? And so the experiment, this issue is extremely wordy. It took me a while to read this issue. Now, that's not a bad thing. There are times where I feel like I personally need that kind of, not explanation, but I just need that narrative. There's a lot going on, and I need some details to feel like that the writer didn't just sort of gloss over it. Like the writer really, really has some intent, really has some head knowledge of what they're going into. And I've read other Zach Kaplan stuff. He does this with all of his books. So he's a writer that I have some trust in when I see his name on a book. So, but it is probably one of the more wordier books that I've read from him, but it's good. There's everything in there. I don't think anything's there for just to draw it out. But we do get a very detailed explanation about this experiment that he's been doing using lights and sound and shock therapy and all this other stuff. But basically he is trying to create an app that is trying to create influence over you without being influenced by outside influences. So the idea of it, and I'm doing you really should read it to get the full explanation. But basically the app is he's trying to create mind control, but it is mind control of you controlling your own mind, if that makes sense. And so he's trying to use this experiment to clear thought, to clear other influences of other things. And what he ends up doing is finding a certain sequence of light and sound to where he can not only clear your mind, but he can implant suggestion. And so the really cool thing is he realizes he has caused himself to shock himself, which not many people did during the experiment. His friends are like, you just did it, you did it not out of anything the experiment did, but you just did it because you did it. And he was like, nope, no, this is not a thing. There's a whole lot of explanation. And then he turns it on his buddies in the TA. And he's like, everybody drop your keys. And nobody dropped their keys. And they're like, you're stupid. And he's like, okay, now look at this light and listen to this sound. And they all do it. And he says, drop your keys. And they all drop their keys. And they're like, why did my keys fall out of my hand? And so then he's like, because I told you to. I gave you, I told you to drop it and you listened. You just didn't know you listened. And they're like, okay, so everybody gets excited. Everybody's like, all right, where do we start? So that's kind of where the story goes, but that again, in the past. And so there's still this murder mystery that's going on. I mean, mystery, it's not really a mystery. Everybody saw him do it. He admits that he did it, but again, multiple times during this, he explains, I didn't do this, but I did do this. So it's still that subconscious mind control thing. Mm-hmm. So the term mindset is trying to change your mindset of how you view things, how you're influenced by things and everything. So there's a lot of play on words and stuff like that in here, which are good. Again, I think it's a really smart book so far. I say that because I think it's a 6-issue miniseries. It's a miniseries of some length. So I'm sort of holding off seeing where we get to. I do like where we're starting with, and we'll see what next issue or two provide. It's a Zach Kaplan book. I'm a fan of his. I'm gonna probably pick it up regardless. Now if it gets really bad, then I'll second guess that. But he's not really done anything that I felt is I need to jump ship now kind of stuff. he's been, if not, if not entertaining, he's at least entertaining, if
Right.
not anything else. So, but yeah, good stuff. Yeah, Mindset, definitely a book to check out. So.
Speaking of Vault Comics, I think Heathen has been one of their better books.
Yep.
Songs of the Dead, Songs for the Dead.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed that one. And I'm a complete stand for anything World of Darkness. So their Vampire the
Oh, yeah.
Masquerade books, a couple have been really piqued my interest. And that's my vault extent pretty much. Now,
Yeah.
like you, at the very beginning, I was getting everything.
Yep.
And they were entertaining. They were new, and it
Oh,
had
yeah.
highs and
Yeah.
lows. But yeah, about that time that it's like, well, nothing's coming out. What's going on? They had
Yep.
all these
Oh, yeah, there was a
solicited, and
huge stretch of time, and that's when
you
I
know,
got in on it, when that gap happened, when they
yeah.
weren't publishing. I
And
didn't
then
know that that's what was going on. I was like,
they
"Oh, yeah, there's no
they
books."
started advertising when they
Yep.
got back going. Oh yeah, the fifth issue, the sixth issue will be in the trade, and I'm like, I have the other issues. Why would
Yeah.
I buy the trade? Except for really big things that I'm
Oh,
really
yeah.
really into, which
Yeah.
these are not it. So yeah,
Yeah, and I've thought this is definitely a publisher I've thought about holding off on a lot of their stuff and just picking up in trade because of that.
Yeah,
And I've done that on a few things. I did Ricardo did bring up Money Shot. I did read the first arc for Money Shot. It was a Tim Seeley book, and I kind of felt obliged to read it because I'm a huge hack slash fan.
hack
Just
slash.
any not
Yes,
it's not even just hack slash, just anything Tim Seeley does, I
right.
really enjoy. There's a level of humor that he does that I've just always enjoyed reading, and he just does it in a certain way. Now, the book was a little over the top, but it's what I expected. Um, so let's see,
Yeah,
Hyper
that's
Potato, that would make me sample the first issues, then go, yeah,
and that's
for
not
sure.
necessarily a bad way to do it. I have noticed that they have been pretty consistent and pretty quick in popping out trades for their
Yeah,
books the last 4 or 5 years, which
yeah,
is not long, but I mean, seeing as how they've been in business for like seven, something like that,
yeah. It's not been
so
very long. Yeah.
no, not real long.
I know Barbaric it's the newest book that I'm on board with.
Okay,
The
I've
first
seen it.
mini series is over. They put a trade out for it. There's a one shot that's getting ready to come out that was on FOC maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
And I think, and then last week was the first issue on FOC, first issue of the new miniseries. So that one's really entertaining. It's basically a barbarian that is wielding a battle axe that has a mind of its own, that's bloodthirsty, and he's trying to
okay.
control it because he is trying to make up for sins of his past. So
So it's a battle axe with like a +12 intelligence or something
yes,
like
yeah,
that.
big
Yeah.
face on it with
Uh,
teeth and everything. It's great.
okay.
I like the Money Shot for the first two arcs, but it got worse over. Oh, yeah, and I kind of stepped away from it because it did seem repetitive. I do agree. And not everything hits the mark every issue.
Now I will say, I learned a new word. I don't believe I've ever seen the word raw dogging before, but
Oh, really? Oh,
I
oh,
I kinda like that. That's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was an interesting book to say the least. And they changed artist after the second arc, I think. And it's no fault of the artist. I just didn't pick it up after the second arc. So,
Right.
but yeah. But again, Barbaric's been really good. I look forward to that. And then Mindset. It's one of those things. I'm not gonna dive headfirst into buying everything that they do. I'm definitely, like Behemoth, gonna kind of
Well,
pick and choose real,
yeah, they are
concern.
worth, just keeping an eye on
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
do put out, a decent bit of stuff to be a
Oh,
smaller
yeah.
publisher. So,
Yeah.
constantly, like, it's surprising that they got this, World of Darkness license out of kind of nowhere. Raw digging where you eat the hot
Hyper
dog straight
Potato
from the
got it just right.
Yes,
Raw dogging is when you eat a hot dog straight from the pack.
yeah,
Exactly.
without cooking. And I know people that have. I don't know how they do that. I mean, I guess a hot dog is cooked already, but
Yep.
I just
Fox and
no.
Hare. That's the other book I was talking about earlier. I just dawned on me. I was like, oh yeah, that is a
Yes,
vault book. Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, they got a few stuff that's out there.
So
Good times. All right. 18. We
indeed,
talked about 18 books in 2 hours.
that's not bad.
That's not bad, folks.
That's not bad.
You definitely got your money's worth, I hope. So yeah. So all right. Anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
Cool. So first off, thanks everybody for listening and joining us
Absolutely.
on
Thank you.
YouTube. Great crowd interaction here in the chat. If you want to be part of the chat on our live shows Thursday night, 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our normal normal time and spot. There's a chance we'll be on.
We'll be there. Yeah.
So odds are more in your favor that we will be there than not, but sometimes we won't be. Quick question.
Yeah.
What about our beard grooming tips,
Let
Usagi?
it grow.
So
That's my tip for the night. Let it
there you
grow.
go. Don't mess with it.
And you can
So
see too, if you're lucky, the longer it grows, the lighter it'll get. See that?
it's gonna get clear at some point.
It pretty soon. You won't be able to see it when it's down here because it'll be translucent.
Exactly.
That's what's going to happen.
So I appreciate everybody who checks us out here on YouTube, as well as everybody who checks us out on the podcast. So listen to the audio. You are missing out. I will say you are missing out if you're not part of the YouTube. Just from the visual aspect, we do try our best to share as many comments and stuff from the folks.
Comments, covers, and all of that. Yeah.
We're starting to show covers and the stuff we're talking about, just because we really want you guys to know, and not just know the names, know what the it's a comic book medium, it's an art medium, so it's very visually oriented. So if you see the cover, more likely, that's two of the books, Mindset and Redman. Those are the reasons I picked those up, because those covers kept sticking in my head.
Don't tell Chris Claremont it's a visual medium, but it is.
It's true.
So yeah.
So, but yeah, come out of the website, comicaddiction.net, with all the links and everything to where all you can go. We have a link there to our forums, which is on justanotherfanboy.freeforums.net. Just Another Fanboy is a friend of the show, is a podcast done by Stephen Orr. He's got a forum over in freeforums.net. Go check it out, be a part of that. Check out his podcast as well.
There are a bunch of other podcasts over there right now too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Stephen is wanting to do. He's kind of an old schooler, early 2000s kind of podcast listener. So he's trying to foster that world that we used to have, where everybody gathered on the forums and talked and threw things out and got ideas and stuff like that. So it's an old school type of place with an old school, hopefully, kind of mentality.
Yep. And if I can ever get my password to let me log in, oh my God, one of these days it'll let me do it. So
new school.
Apparently I'm the moron.
With the old school.
Yeah. So, I'm trying. You can email us at comicbookaddict@gmail.com. You can come by Twitter. It's probably the best place to contact us. You can follow the podcast and the website at Comic Addiction. You can follow Ed at Teal Productions. You can follow me at Chris Parton. You can also still follow Boom Addiction over there.
Who?
I may eventually just stop talking about it.
No, there's no reason to.
No reason to talk about it, or stop talking about it?
No reason to stop. It's part of the DNA. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, for sure. Speaking of which, over on our Facebook page, Ed still is keeping the flames bright and shiny for all things Boom. It is the fans of Boom Studios. You can follow and like and be a part of that page and get all the news and previews and things like that that Boom is putting out. And definitely, we were talking about earlier, some news from Boom that they had just hired two new editors, which is cool. One is a senior level editor, and the other one is an acquisitions editor. So I don't know what that means. When I have heard acquisitions used, I'm thinking, oh, this is when Archaea got bought.
Right. Yeah, they're buying or being bought. Or so,
Yeah. So I'm interested to hear. It's gonna, this year is there's still a lot going on. San Diego's coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So there's tons of announcements. So speaking of that, there'll probably be news and stuff. We don't typically talk about news, but if something huge and we decide it's something worth talking about, we definitely will at least mention it. So, but we're looking to talk about the books and stuff like that. Like I said, 18 books in 2 hours.
Books.
And I don't feel like we rushed through anything. I think we gave pretty much all of our opinions that we were going to give. So if you get 18 books every 2 hours for 2 hours once a week, I think you're you're doing all right. So but that's it. That's all I got. So everybody, again, thank you for listening to this episode. It's episode number 139. 140 is next week. So I'm looking forward to that. Ed, as always, thank you for joining me.
Yes, sir.
And we will catch all of you next week. Goodbye.
Ciao.
Doop, 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 doop. Cool. Everybody in the chat, thank you very much for hanging out with us.
Thank you. Been
all of the back and forth and everything. And I do apologize if we don't get everything that you guys say highlighted up on the screen. It's not that we're ignoring you. It's just,
we have regulars. That's awesome.
And I want to make sure all of y'all are included as much as we can. So, but sometimes both of us get a little into what we're saying, and so it's a little hard to then segue something that was said 10 minutes ago. And so, but we are paying attention to you.
For full transparency, up in the chat, Terry Moore is my spouse.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if that's really come out or not, but yeah, she'll listen sometimes in part, or who knows. The vagaries of the Terry. It's hard to.
My wife will never listen because she.
All right. Cool.
She can't remember the name of the show. No, that's not true. It was a joke that she and I had on a trip. I was like, "Hey, can you pull up my podcast?" She was like, "What's the name?" She was mocking me for the number of names that I have. So,
what's the name? Oh yeah, just twist it while you got it there.
What was really funny is that she then was talking to her sister on the phone while we were driving. I was driving; she was just riding passenger. So she was talking to her sister and had her on speaker, and she said, "Hey, by the way, do you know what the name of Chris's podcast is?" And her sister went, "You mean Boom Addiction?" Wow. And I went, "Aha, she knows."
Yikes. Okay.
She knows. And my brother-in-law knew. Now my nephew now knows. He's 10 years old. I think James is 10. I said they were over at the house right before the show, and I said, "Yeah, I can't go play," because he asked me, you're gonna play Fortnite tonight? I'm like, "No, I got a show tonight." And he was like, "What do you mean you have a show?" I was like, "Yeah, I do YouTube," because he's a big YouTube watcher. He's like, "No, you don't." And even his dad looked at me like, "You do? Do you now do the podcast on YouTube?" I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
So I sent them a link.
It's the pre-show for the podcast. So
yep. So
he knows my name.
Let's see. Never expected comments to be read. I enjoy hearing y'all talk. Comic School.
That's difficult.
My wife barely knows my name. Yes.
I'm not sure. It's okay.
It's part of the club. That's just all it is. So. All right, everybody. We will. I gotta sign off, but we'll catch all of y'all next week.
That's a good one to end on, guys.
Yeah. See y'all later.
Bye.